Eternal shutters. It started with a camera. Not an expensive one, not even new, just a secondhand Nikon. James Price stumbled across at a dusty estate sale in a little Illinois town. He hadn't even planned on being there. He was a photographer on his way home from a wedding shoot, took a wrong exit, and saw the sign, "Estate sale, everything must go." Inside, the house smelled like dust and mothballs, old furniture, boxes of clothes, brittle photo albums. And on a shelf near the back, he found it, the camera. Heavy in his hands, cold to the touch. Its leather strap cracked and worn. The woman running the sale hardly spoke to him, but when he asked about the camera, she gave him a look he would never forget. "That camera only shows the truth," she said. James laughed it off. Cameras always showed the truth, didn't they? He bought it for $50 and went home. That night, he tested it, snapped a picture of his apartment just to see if it worked. When the film developed, James froze. At first, it looked fine. His living room, his couch, the lamp in the corner. But then he saw it. A figure, pale, hollow-eyed, standing just behind the couch. James lived alone. He tore the picture in half, told himself it was a flaw in the film, a trick of the light, anything but real. But something inside him itched. Curiosity, fear, both gnawing at him. He had to try again. The next day, he took the camera into the city. Busy sidewalks, crosswalks crowded with strangers. He developed the photos later that night. And what stared back at him made his stomach turn. Half the people weren't people. Their eyes were black pits. Their jaws stretched wide, too wide, as if their faces were slipping off. And in the background, down a shadowed alley, was a man. Still, silent, staring straight into the lens. James hadn't seen him when he took the shot. That should have been enough. That should have been the moment he locked the camera away. But it wasn't. He became obsessed. He took it everywhere. The park, the coffee shop, anywhere with people. And every photo showed something wrong. A man feeding pigeons, but the pigeons had arms instead of wings, clawed fingers thrashing the air. A mother pushing a stroller, but the baby's face was smeared, stretched across the image like it was trying to crawl out of the picture. A coffee shop full of smiling customers, but their reflections weren't smiling. Their reflections pressed against the glass, mouths open in silent howls. And in every single roll of film, that man. Always in the background, always closer. James stopped sleeping. Shadows seemed alive in his apartment. Floorboards creaked at night when he knew no one was there. But he couldn't stop. One night, he drove to the old cemetery. Moonlight silvered the crooked headstones. He wandered among them, snapping photos until the roll was spent. When he developed it, his chest went cold. Every grave was open, every coffin empty. And in frame after frame, pale hands clawed out of the dirt, reaching for him. The last picture made him stagger back. It showed James himself, standing between the graves. The shot had been taken from behind, but he'd been alone. And in that picture, right at his shoulder, was the man again. Closer than ever, his hand almost resting on James's back. From there, the photos grew darker. At the subway station, commuters blurred past his lens, but on film, their faces melted, dripping like wax. A shadowy figure stood on the platform, unmoving, staring directly at him. At a playground, he photographed empty swings. On the prints, the chains stretched high into the sky, disappearing into clouds. At the end of each chain dangled something pale and faceless, limp like marionettes. James vomited when he saw those. But even then, he kept shooting. Finally, he locked himself inside a rented darkroom for 3 straight days. He barely ate. He barely slept. Friends said he muttered to himself whenever they saw him, "I'm finding the truth. I'm finding the truth." No one knows exactly what he captured in those last rolls. But the man who owned the darkroom swore he caught glimpses of the prints. City streets, empty of people, crawling instead with things too tall, too thin, their mouths split ear to ear. Office buildings full of workers at their desks, but every one of them headless. A church packed with worshipers, kneeling in prayer with their spines bent backward, broken like twigs. And the final frame, James himself, sitting dead center, the camera in his lap, half his face hidden in shadow, half smiling wide. And for the first time, the man wasn't in the background. It was as if he'd stepped inside James. That was the last anyone saw of him. James Price vanished. His apartment stood empty, his studio abandoned. But neighbors swear they still hear it sometimes. The sound of a camera shutter clicking in the dark. And when the hallway lights flicker, they say you can catch a glimpse of him, or at least something that looks like him. So if you ever find an old camera at a yard sale, scratched, heavy, with a cracked leather strap, don't pick it up, because it doesn't take pictures, it takes you.